to be healthy Christian adults using their God-given abilities to make good choices. I think my son, I remember just a couple years ago, he was having issues at school and stuff, 7th grader, and I'm like, well, what can you do? You know, what can you do? And help him problem solve. I think that's really important step for all of our children, to learn to problem solve and how to solve their own problems and to talk them through that and to talk them and encourage them to, well, who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to address? What questions can you ask? And that's something we want here at GPL, as our students grow to be adults, because they're headed towards adulthood pretty quick. They're not quite there yet. They need guidance. And that's what we want, and that's that partnership that we share together. Children are not, disciplined with love. Issues arise. Children are not perfect. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. We don't expect children to be perfect by any means. But when we do have to discipline, we want discipline with love. And discipline so that they learn and they grow to be those healthy Christian adults using God-given wisdom to make good choices. Attendance is an important issue, obviously, on education. We want your children here at school. We want them to attend. We want them to be present, not just physically, but also mentally present, to be in the classroom. And just some interesting facts about attendance and the impact that has. It says over 7 million U.S. students miss nearly a month of school each year. And you think about missing a whole month, and you think, that's a lot of time. But yet, if you separate it out into different weeks, a day here, 2 days here, a day there, it adds up pretty quickly to a month of school. And so research shows that missing 10% of the school, whether excused or unexcused, or even about 18 days in most districts, negatively affects a student's academic performance. And that's really just 2 days a month, and that's known as chronic absence. And so when a child misses school, it's going to impact them. They can make up the homework, the activity sheets, or whatever the homework they need to do with it, but they're missing that interaction of one-on-one with the teacher. And that's so important in the classroom, because that's really where the learning happens. The assignments are reinforcing the homework, reinforcing what was learned in the classroom. And so we want your children at school. And we know that there's going to be times where children are sick and they can't come to school. And we don't want them here at school if they're sick, and we don't want them to spread their sickness around or anything like that. But we want them here otherwise than other times. And we know there's going to be times where they're gone for sporting events, school events, and that's part of high school life. But as we look at the overall picture, just know we want your kids here. We want them here to learn and grow. Attendance matters. So just a few things with our procedures. Tardiness is going to be up to 15 minutes late, would be considered tardy. Detention will be served for every 4 tardies. Parents will be contacted. If your child gets up to 4 tardies, you will receive a phone call from Carl or myself, probably from Carl Charland, because we want you to be aware. We want you to know that your child is tardy. And then we'll schedule a detention with you on when your child can serve that detention. All right. Tardy, for a student's first class of the day, students will need to stop by the office to pick up a hall pass form. So if they come, they have their first class during second period. When our first period, they know they're late. The teacher will not let them in until they get that hall pass. And they have the hall pass filled out. Then they come into the classroom with that hall pass, give it to the teacher, and then the teacher will mark them tardy at that point, or Mrs. Miller will mark them tardy. To remove a tardy for their first class period, we do need parents to contact the office by 3:30 of that day to excuse that tardy, to get that tardy removed. So be sure, if you know your child's tardy and why they're tardy, call the office up, excuse that tardy so that we have record of that and it's not an unexcused tardy, and that tardy can be removed then. During the school day, if students are tardy between the class schedules, they are going to need to be excused by a hall pass. And if it's a teacher discussion that they're having and it made them late for the next class, they will just need to get a hall pass from their teacher, bring it to the next teacher so that that teacher receives that hall pass and won't mark them as tardy then. Students can contest a tardy with the teacher that reported the tardy with one school day. So they got one school day, and they have the Power School. They should have that on their phone, their apps. They can easily check if they have a tardy. Normally, probably what students should do is if they know they're walking in after the bell, they should assume they just got a tardy for that. And so they need to make sure to excuse that, and especially if it's a legitimate excuse because of talking with the teacher to get that resolved with them. So here again, putting the ownership on the students. That's part of growth. Getting them to be adults, making good decisions, that if there's an issue that they're tardy during the school day that happens, that they're taking ownership of it and they're working that out. That's how we want our kids to grow. Absence. And some of this stuff I'm sure you know, but this is good for me to go through because I'm learning a lot since I've been here in July. There's a lot to learn. So with absence, if it's a planned absence, at least 3 days prior, if you know that your child's going to be missing school, and they're going to be missing school from at least 3 classes or more, they should fill out the student plan absence form. If it is a school-related event, they do not need to fill out that planned absence form. That planned absence form is for if they're going to miss because something's happening at home, taking your child out, they're going to miss over 3 class periods. They should go to each teacher, get that filled out, get it signed, parent signs it, and then it, I guess from what I understand, ends up on my desk and then I sign it at that point. Planned absence form, like I said, signed by student, parent, and principal. Dorm students, obviously, if your child's a dorm student, you can contact our office to let them know that your child is going to be absent during that time, and that counts as that signature on that document. All right. The other thing we want to emphasize is, first of all, course credit is lost at 14 absences or 7 absences for half a credit per semester. So that's where we don't want the children to be. That's not including the school-related events when they have to leave for, if it's track or field or other sporting events, music events, that's not part of that. It's just the absences, total excused and unexcused from personal type nature absences. If a student is to leave campus here, we realize we're responsible for students on the campus when they come into school and when they leave the school. And so in order for us to release the student during the day, we do ask and we do want that the parents would contact the school office if there's an appointment, for example, and you know your child has an appointment and needs to leave at a certain time, please contact our school office to let us know so that we can release your child to go to that appointment. All right. Incomplete work, ineligibility. We do have what's called 10th hour. I think that was new last year that they started. Just a non-threatening opportunity for students and teachers to work together. If students have questions or are just having a hard time, they have an opportunity to schedule a time with a teacher to get their questions answered and to work through their work that they need to do for that. It's also a consequence for incomplete schoolwork or low academic achievement at grade check time. So if a student has a missing assignment, it was due that day, they have until the next day to get that turned in. But then they need to make sure that they do turn that in, or else they will need to go to a 10th hour time period with that teacher if that teacher is not in a coaching activity. If that teacher is in a coaching activity, then they'll go to a different teacher. They'll go to Miss Emily Cantwell for that 10th hour time period. If you haven't done this already, Power School is something that's important to get logged in on, to visit that. There again, I just would say it's really good for parents to keep an eye on what their kids are doing at school. You can easily check their tardies, their attendance, their grades, their homework, their missing homework. Children, their students, they need that. They're growing up to be adults to make good decisions and everything, and this is a way that we can work together and help them grow, help them learn to be responsible. And many kids probably don't have any issue with that, but if you know your child may have some issues, it would be important for everybody just to be in Power School so you can check in to see how your child is doing. And it's not too difficult to do. Karen Miller, our administrative assistant, she can give you more detailed information on registering for Power School with the access ID and password. That will be on an informational sheet for that. You can set up email notification that every week you get an email notification that gives a summary of how your child's doing grade-wise in school with attendance, tardies, and so you can set that up so you have automatic notification of that. Summary of current grades and attendance. Detailed report showing assignment scores for each child, for each class, and then you can select how often you want that, weekly, and apply those settings to all your students there. So just an encouragement with PowerSchool to make use of that feature that keeps you informed. A few other items before the next person is up here to talk to you. We have tuition is due by the 15th of each month. If for some reason you know that something happened, you're not going to get the payment in there, please communicate to Angie Schmidt, our business manager, and let her know that so that she's aware of that. It makes things a little bit easier for her, quite a bit easier if she's knows ahead of time instead of trying to reach out to find out what happened or why it's late. If there's late starts or school closings, the remind text messages, you can sign up for that. That would be the text message that you'd receive if bad weather is there or for some reason there's school closing. So it'll let you know immediately right away. Closings will mainly be relayed through text, email, Facebook. I'll also work at getting it on TV, radio stations there too, but I think the text messaging would be the quickest, easiest way to figure that out with that. Cell phones, other electronic devices, your children, I'm sure, have their cell phones with them. They should make sure to listen to the teachers and what the teachers want. There's a little bit different expectations sometimes. Some teachers have the students actually hand it in. They got some slots where they put their phone in by the door when they walk in the classroom. Other teachers will say just keep it in your backpack and make sure it stays in your backpack, but either way, the phone should not be out in the classroom at all. Unless for some reason the teacher is utilizing that method. Weekly updates will go out on Friday, so always look for that. And then script program, we have Raise Right. If you have not been using script, please see Sarah Roloff. She can give you some information on that, but if you use the online form, it's very quick and easy, and it helps towards tuition. 50% tuition is your earnings, 50% of the percent that you get back. The other 50% goes to the school and helps out the school with their fun and activities. So, anybody have any questions for me? I kind of raced through that because we have two other speakers and we're limited to 60 minutes here, so I don't want to hold you up with that. I do have a message from Mr. Martins. He wants to share something with you.
Good evening. I just wanted to say quickly, between Friday and Monday, I teach music, and it is certainly a blessing to serve in that way. There are approximately, I don't know where the numbers will end up after everyone looks at their schedules, but right around 130, 135 of the 145 students are involved in one of our ensembles or multiple ensembles here. But I send out an email before each concert, usually right before marching band and things like that. And I always get to the end of a year and there's a parent who says, I never got an email. I only email the email addresses that are on the list that I have. This next Friday, between next Friday and Labor Day Monday, I will be sending out an email. If you go through the next weekend and you don't get an email from me and you think you should have because your son or daughter is in band, choir, or freshman music, so let me know and I'll make sure I double check your email address and I have it on that document. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. All right, oops, I missed that closing part. Anyways, in closing, it's my prayer that that as we partner together in preparing your child for adulthood, that each child's faith continues to grow in love for their Savior, and that they work hard at using the gifts God has given them to their fullest potential. I look forward to getting to know you more. I know I've introduced myself to some people twice already. I apologize for that, but I've been seeing so many different faces and everything, so it'll take me a while to get to know names and connect faces to it, but I look forward to getting to know you more and looking forward to getting to know your children too. It's truly a blessing to be here. GPL is very blessed in so many ways. Just look at the facilities here and the teamwork that the teachers have. I was able to work with orientation with the teachers, and the teachers work great together here. They're an awesome group of teachers, and I look forward to leading them and working with them at GPL. I apologize to Matt. I know Matt's up last, and I think I went 2 minutes past. Sorry, Matt. But, all right, we're going to have Carl Shawland come up now.
Thank you. Hello again, everyone. Get my PowerPoint up here in a moment. I'm Pastor Carl Scholland. My third year here on campus, and very privileged to be in this position. I love working with your kids, with the students that are here. And we are a unique school because we have the dormitory. That's a large part of my role here is with dormitory oversight. So we'll be touching on that here in a moment. A little bit about myself. Obviously, we've heard much about wisdom here already today. I know Mr. Bender touched on our theme verse, but how important that is. Do not forsake wisdom, she will protect you. Love her and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. That's what we're searching for. We're searching for it in our social interactions, in growth, in worldly wisdom, in knowledge, but also obviously that spiritual wisdom. We're going to seek to grow the faith of all of the students here on campus, including ourselves as a faculty as well. My wife, Claire, is my partner, and these little ones are figuratively and literally what get me up in the morning: Gideon, Greta, Gwendolyn, and Garrett. These three people are very important here on campus. Again, about half of our student body, just under half of our student body, lives in the dormitory. And given that it's so unique that sometimes there seems to be a split between the town kids and the dorm kids. On occasion we'll have local kids stop by the dormitory, but realize that we still are one united group, and we want to continue to foster those relationships. Carla was just telling me that over the past couple weeks, when football got here a couple weeks ago, a lot of the local kids, they just hung out in the dormitory, which is awesome. Building those relationships, finding a safe place to hang out and stay there for a while. We do want to continue to encourage that. As we mentioned in our worship service earlier, Mr. Nash is our new dorm staff. Miss Porter, she knows all the ropes, and if not, Carla's been here for a bit. 66 we are up to in the dormitory. We have 5 international, so 61 kids from multiple various states living in the dorms. Really unique and special thing that we have here. As the dean of students, I have that dormitory oversight. And perhaps you didn't know, but your student, if you're living local, can stay in the dorm if it's necessary. Biggest thing is communication. If there's bad weather, if sports get in really late at night, want to crash in the dorms, or a late practice or an early practice the next morning, we have that opportunity available for students. And I think that's a good thing. I know a couple students are making use of that already. But again, communication, let Carla know ahead of time as much as you are able. Obviously with weather we don't know, but reach out to her. And long weekends for parents of the dorm students. When we have an extended weekend, we like to give our dorm staff a little breather. They need some downtime as well. So when we have those long weekends and many of our students are able to go home, they're close enough, but not everybody lives close enough. We have students from overseas, and I want you to consider perhaps opening your home for some of these students, just a safe place to go, to learn some new things, a unique experience of culture here as they're here in America. But I've encouraged the students, find a friend, make a friend. If they've got to get out of the dorms, you got to find some place to go. Be willing, opening your home, encourage one another. So we already have this Labor Day weekend coming up ahead of us. Consider that if your home might be a place where a couple of our students could stay with your students. If you have interest in assisting, especially over longer breaks as well, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter break. If you have interest in that, come speak to me and we could arrange something for you. That'd be great. Here, as we're growing in knowledge and wisdom, teenagers, it takes a lot as they navigate all of the different relationships in their life. Many teenagers begin dating one another, but as we understand all of the relationships, we're going to have respect for God, each other, and most importantly, ourselves. As teens begin relationships, we want to encourage proper relationship habits. We put a kibosh on any excessive, unnecessary PDA. It's not good, it's not God-pleasing. Holding hands, it's a part of a relationship, we understand that. But we're here to help advise and encourage those godly decisions. Student interactions with one another, hazing and bullying, there is absolutely no place for that here on campus. When it is brought to our attention, we act on it, and we're going to act quickly on it because that is not right and proper for a Christian. There's no place for that in a Christian school. There's no place for that in society. And so that we feel very strongly about that. And also the use of student language, whether it's spoken, written, or social media. We don't go stalk students' social media, but we keep an ear open, we hear things, and we address them as they come forward. Dress code, we understand that living as a Christian in a godless world, sometimes you might describe it, what the world does is very different than what a Christian might do. And so we do have a dress code. We encourage students to act and dress in a fitting and proper way. Modesty and decency out of love for our Lord, out of love for ourselves, right? Not showing too much, not displaying too much. It is an important part of what we do here at GPL. What we wear and how we wear it says much about ourselves. Is this how you are going to present yourself as a Christian to the world once you're out of these doors? Or as you present yourself to the world even as a student here? Is this the best possible Christian witness that we can give? We do have a search policy here on GPL that for the well-being and safety of students and staff, if we deem it necessary, if we perceive a threat or we hear something, we do reserve the right to inspect, to search lockers, cars, rooms, vehicles. There will be respect of privacy and personal space, obviously, but for the safety of and welfare of everyone here on campus, we do reserve that right. We do work with the local police department in assisting us with those things sometimes. As the Dean of Students, I have the oversight over student life. As mentioned earlier, I'm student council advisor, and I work with the drama department a little bit. And Mr. Bender did touch on a couple of these things. I'll highlight them too because I deal with them as well. The attendance for the students, just getting to school on time, making sure you're in your class before the bell rings is just a good habit to get started. And if you are late to school, you got to check in with Mrs. Miller. She's our go-to person. If you leave school at a different time, again, check with Mrs. Miller. She's going to be the one to make sure we get the recording done properly. Mr. Bender addressed how to address some of the tardies or late arrivals. They need to be excused by you if they arrive late. Some certainly acceptable excuses would be if they have an appointment, if they have a planned absence ahead of time, if there's a family event that's been planned for 2 years and you're heading out for some time. School events, obviously, and sickness. Acceptable excuses. If your child slept in and got late to school, please don't excuse that. It's part of the learning process, learning responsibility. Getting coffee, again, not an acceptable excuse for getting to school late. If you are tardy 4 times, whether the morning hours or even throughout the day, 4 will result in a detention, and then every 4 thereafter will also be a detention. On an excused absence where no idea where the student went, you're not sure where your student, why they weren't in class, that too would result in a detention, but you will be notified when those things happen. I think it's important for us to communicate and to work together when these things happen to solve, get down to the base root of why they happened and put a kibosh to it and move forward together. As, again, Mr. Bender mentioned, many of the students, all of the students probably have phones and many have smartwatches. They are a huge distraction for our students, and throughout the past 2 years, I've had many phones just sitting on my desk at the end of the day when I get back from class because other teachers have asked the students to put them away and they didn't, confiscated for the rest of the day. We will be continuing to do that. If it is a repeated behavior that is showing disrespect for the classroom and for the teacher, we're going to keep the phones for a while. We're going to contact you. We're going to have to talk about this together. We want to work with you on stopping the behavior. And it could result in a detention if it is continued. Any questions along the way so far? I also serve as campus pastor, which is pretty cool. Spiritual advisor, spiritual growth for our student body, for faculty here at GPL, and I relish this job, the opportunity to share God's Word, to teach God's Word. Religion 12, our seniors, as they're getting ready to head off into the world, to our freshmen, Old Testament survey, as they're just coming in, an introduction to Christianity. Those students who may not have much of a history or a background in Christian faith at all, to start them on those basic steps, I have that opportunity. I oversee the teens in ministry outreach opportunities that our students can take over summer or sometimes during the school year as well. Plans put those opportunities in front of the students and they can sign up for those. And I'm the campus pastor. I am not here to replace anybody's home church pastor. I'm not taking your place, Pastor Kukan. I'm here because high school students go through a lot in their life, and there are things that happen that need to be immediately addressed, and they just need somebody to talk to, and that's why I'm here. I've got an open door, I've got a coffee bar in my office, and the students love that. I've also got hot chocolate. But I'm here as a campus pastor to serve the needs quickly. We have an online counseling service, Christian Family Solutions. They're based out of Wisconsin. And if there is something that your child is going through that's deeper, that we need a professional to talk with, that is an opportunity that can be used. So they will offer 3 free sessions to a student, an hour long, that could sit down and have a video chat to work through things, to talk. After those 3 sessions are used up, you can still continue to use these services. They would have some cost to them, but again, it's going to be minimal compared to outside professional counseling services, I should say. So if you have any concerns about your students, if they're going through some deep struggles, please come talk to me. Send them to me so we can begin those discussions. And know that we love your children dearly. I'm thankful to begin another year, to continue working with the students that I've come to know, and to learn some new ones here as well. Paul's words to the Philippians I love. I thank my God every time I remember you. Every time I pray for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. I'm convinced of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. I'm equally convinced that it is right for me to think this way about all of you because I have you in my heart. For both in my chains and my defense and confirmation of the gospel, you all share in this grace with me. Yes, God is my witness of how I long for all of you with the affection of Christ Jesus. And I pray that your love may still increase more and more in knowledge and every insight. This will result in your approval of the things that really matter, so that you will be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God. And I pray that you take that to heart, and I pray that you take my encouragement, that if you need anything, please reach out to us and ask questions to see how we can help and how we can work together with your student. Any questions? Yes? Mr. Bauer, good to see you.
This kind of question is above my pay grade. I'm going to say we need to talk about that. Just along the lines of, is it an excused? It would be excused for sure. I don't know if this was touched on or not, the difference between an activity absence and an excused absence. Activity absence would be they're gone, they missed some class because of a cross-country meet. Those absences don't actually count as absences because they're school activities. But a school activity that's outside of our school activities, we'll get back to you on that. I'm going to use this one. All right, my slides will be coming. (4:26), we're going to be done at 4:45. I probably have more than 20 minutes of things to talk about here, and I'll slam dunk some of it, and if I get the sense that I'm not going to get it all done, we'll figure out a different way to get that information to you. So I have the opportunity this afternoon to introduce you to our athletic program. Thank you for the opportunity. Upwards of 80% of our students participate in interscholastic athletics at GPL. I would make the case that in one way or another, 100% of our students in some way are involved with our athletic program. So information for everybody this afternoon. Quick introduction. One of the benefits I had when I served as principal was I knew all the new students and I knew all the new families coming into a school year through the enrollment process. And this is my first year going in where there's a whole bunch of new students on campus and a whole bunch of new families that I don't know. And you probably don't know me either. So very quick introduction. My family on the left there, wife Sarah, she teaches kindergarten over at St. Martin's. Daughter Hallie wearing the Jackrabbit shirt. We dropped her off at SDSU last weekend. She's starting there this fall. Son Jared in the back. He is going to be a junior here at GPL, and if I didn't say it already, my name is Matt Bauer. Two dogs, Bodie and Macy, they're kind of a part of our family too. Those letters at the top, 21 for this will be my 21st year in the teaching ministry, my 7th year at GPL as a teacher. I said this earlier, math and personal finance, AD for athletic director, GBB for girls basketball, LT for I love this. I absolutely love what I get to do at GPL. I work really hard to be the best that I can be at it, and I love learning more about it and always trying to improve. In the next few minutes here, we're going to try to give you some important details and hopefully get the school year started well and set a positive tone for another year of GPL athletics. You've already heard both, and this is one of the cool things about GPL, laser sharp focus on the mission. All of our programs at GPL are laser sharp focus on the mission, and athletics is no different. So in supporting our school's mission, I'm not going to read all these words, but I would just ask you to spend a few seconds kind of skimming and scanning, and you'll see different things jump out at you. This is what our athletic program gets to do to support our school's mission. It gets to help kids grow in a whole bunch of really awesome, important ways. And I know you're not done reading all the words, but even beyond the student athletes who actually participate in the sports themselves, it supports our school in different ways. And the bold words, it serves as an ambassador, a unifier, a source of excitement, pride, tradition, source of accountability, support for at-risk students. We'll touch on a couple of these things in greater detail, but there's a lot of different ways that our athletic program supports our school's mission. And all those things in mind, it's always about glorifying God. Up in our gym hangs that banner. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. Everything our students do at GPL is an opportunity for them to serve God with their talents. Some gratitude that I want to share with you this afternoon. Some cool new things in the realm of athletics at GPL. A very generous business in town donated furniture for our training room to be updated. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be installed any day now, but it's not quite in there. Brand new competition high jump pit arrived a week or two ago. This was mind-blowing to me. That lower left picture there is how that thing was shipped. That's 3 standard pallets. It was like vacuum sealed, just all the air sucked out of it. A high jump pit is foam inside, and inside that foam is mostly air. So you suck all the air out, and it can be made really small when it ships on the truck. And then as soon as you cut the plastic open, whoosh, air rushes in and it blows up, and it's a competition high jump pit. So we're thankful for that. New uniforms for cross country, track and field, and boys basketball this year. A new line painter, which is working really well. New goalpost pads for the football team. Some new programs this year. We're adding football cheer. They're going to start practicing on Monday. We're excited about the excitement they'll bring to football games. Something new for our student athlete leadership team, SALT for short. 12 student athletes involved in all the different sports programs that we have are going to have the opportunity to come together, and we're going to work together on some various things that give them the opportunity to be leaders in the realm of our sports programs. And then you may have noticed recently we started a new website for GPL Athletics, panthers.gplhs.org. I'll talk a little bit more about communication in a minute, but between the sports page, that weekly newsletter that comes out, and this website, my goal is that 2 go-to places for hopefully everything you need about GPL Athletics. And if either of those 2 sources is missing something important that you're like, I really wish this was there, please tell me, and we'll work on that, because I want these to be useful tools. You see the sports pages there. You'll also get that in email. Some various important documents, the transportation form, for example. We'll talk about that in a second. You can find that there. Information about our teams, records. It's being developed, but anyway, easy to remember. We already had GPLHS.org. Just put Panthers in front of it. One of the cool things about a small school like GPL is our students get to be involved. So I'm going to be saying this to them on Monday. What an opportunity to get your hands dirty in a whole bunch of different things. 90+% of our students involved in activities in some way or another. 80%, like I said earlier, in our sports programs. So fall, winter, spring, and all year, you can see the opportunities that our students have. Really cool at GPL is it's not, I'm just an athlete, I'm just a musician. It's all of the above. These kids get to be well diversified in their development of their talents and abilities. So I would encourage you, just like we encourage, to do as many things as you can. It's a part of having a memorable, enjoyable high school experience. Couple things from the athletic handbook we're going to touch on. First of all, I'm sure you already read through this when you read through the athletic handbook and signed the agreement form, but there's a section on expectations, and I'm not going to go through all those in any great detail right now. But I just want to touch a little bit on coaches. We have high expectations for our coaches. None of us, whether it be students, parents, or coaches, is perfect. As much as we might have intentions of doing things perfectly, we're always going to fall short. Our coaches are no different. But I do want you to know today that they are working really hard to help your kids grow in those ways that I mentioned earlier. Really, really hard. Countless hours spent on planning practices, preparation for competition. They're watching film. They're working on strategy. They're building team culture. They're helping their players develop Christian character. They're hopefully working really hard to communicate well with you. All those things take a lot of time. And something I think we sometimes maybe take for granted and maybe even underestimate is it takes a ton of courage to coach. And, you see the word scrutiny there and you see the word gossip. And I hope these things aren't true at GPL, but I know they probably are at times. If nothing else, scrutiny can be a positive word. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacks in the world that think they know better than whatever the coach is doing. Well, at some point, the coach has to decide how they're going to run their team. And it's not to say that they're not willing to listen or develop new ideas or learn and grow or have their perspectives challenged. But at some point, they're the ones who make the decisions about how things are going to go. And it's really easy to say at the end of the football game, we didn't manage the clock well, or we should have run that play well, or we should have played this different kind of defense, or you can think of countless examples of this. It's really easy to scrutinize them. And it's really easy also to fall into the temptation of gossiping, starting to talk with others in a way that is just not helpful to anything going on. So my encouragement would be, please recognize how really, really hard our coaches are working for your kids. They're not perfect. None of them claim to be, but please try to be supportive and express gratitude as often as you can, because it's a labor of love. Another really important thing in the realm of expectations is being ambassadors. And whether it's coaches, whether it's student athletes, whether it's parents, everybody involved, this is an extremely important role that we have, because it's an opportunity for us to represent the two S's, our Savior and our school. And how we represent GPL in the community is an important way that we're also reflecting Christ in the community. So just a few things, a few encouragements today. It's 3 words. I think it sums it all up really well. We cheer for, not against. We cheer positively for our teams. I'm not expecting you to cheer for the other team, but let's be honest, there's times where the other team might do something that's cheer-worthy regardless of the fact that they're the other team, and we can show them some love and some support. But in the realm of not against, certainly not against our opponent, certainly not against other fans, certainly not against officials who make mistakes. We owe them our respect. So if you can keep those 3 words in mind, for, not against, as long as you live in the realm of for, it's always going to be good, and we're going to be representing our school well. Some language that I use in the pregame announcements before our games. We respect the decisions of the officials and encourage the players with positive, enthusiastic cheering. Again, I'm just repeating what I already said. Officials make mistakes. Hopefully, our coaches are going to handle differences of opinion in a respectful way. I'm sure that doesn't always happen perfectly. But I can promise you, it's never going to help our team's cause if we have fans in the bleachers yelling at refs. It's never going to help anything. If anything, it's going to hurt it, because it's going to annoy those refs, and they're probably going to be subconsciously more likely to make calls against our team. It's respect. It's the 4th commandment that was talked about earlier. We strive to exhibit Christian character in class all the time. So please, as a fan in the bleachers, think of yourself as an ambassador for GPL and let your Christian light shine brightly in that situation. Communication, we work really hard to do well. There's probably from time to time a lapse. We'll try to avoid that to the best of our ability, but please never hesitate to ask a question. If you think something should have been shared that wasn't, never hesitate to ask, because you asking, it's like Mr. Martin said earlier. If it comes to his attention, he doesn't know if people aren't getting his emails unless someone brings forward, and then he can fix that. So we want it to be good. Different tools that we use up there. Please be paying attention to all those things. Mr. Bender talked about using Remind for like weather cancellations and delays. We use Remind for, the game got canceled, the game got postponed, things like that too. So another way. In the realm of questions and concerns that may arise, I would encourage you to deal directly as often as possible. Like I said earlier, there's no place for gossip. And if that's starting to find you, maybe something you can do to deflect it. I mean, I realize there might be a time and a place to listen a little bit, but what is going to get to a solution if there really is a problem? And maybe the words are just, I encourage you to talk to whomever can actually be a part of the solution in that situation. Keeping it respectful, appropriate time, appropriate place, appropriate tone. I can promise you it's never a good time to have an issue with a coach right when they walk out of the locker room after a game. We got to let the dust settle. Maybe it's emotionally charged, and we got to let the emotions cool. A really good piece of advice is sleep on it before saying anything about it. I'm going to encourage, if there's so much room for miscommunication in messages, whether it be a text message or an email, it's so easy to use a tone or wonder about what the tone is in that kind of a communication where we're not face-to-face and we're not hearing each other's voices. So I'm going to encourage, if the need arises, phone calls, setting up time for an in-person meeting. Rest assured, if you do send an email or another type of message, I encourage our coaches to respond within 24 hours. That response might be, thank you for your message. There's a lot to think about there. I will get back to you as soon as I'm able. But we want to at least acknowledge that you sent that email so that you know that we're hearing you. And then keeping in mind the chain of command. On the front lines, if there's some type of a question or situation with the team, probably the frontline communication needs to happen with the coach. And I might even encourage, before parents get involved, encouraging student-athlete communication with the coach. But parents with the coach if necessary, and then up the line would be, if it's not being satisfactorily resolved, you can talk to me as the athletic director. Going up the line would be principal, president, and board. And we very seldom have to get, probably past the coach. If we're being proactive, if we're being respectful, we can work through things that come up. Some procedural things. Every team goes through training rules with its athletes at the beginning of a season. A big aspect of those is universal across all of our sports. So very consistently, children are having the same experience from one sport to the other. And then there is some room for some team-specific training rules. But usually players will sign those to let everybody on the team know, I am committing myself to this as a part of the team. Attendance is extremely important. If there's going to be an absence from a practice, an absence from a game, AFIAAP stands for as far in advance as possible. It can be really frustrating for coaches to hear the day of, and I realize from time to time it's going to happen. We don't know that a child's going to wake up sick until the day of. But if there's absences that are going to take a child out of practice or a game, and we know about them far in advance, super helpful to get that word out so coaches can plan accordingly. The transportation form is just a necessary evil. I haven't found a way around this. It's on that panthers.gplhs.org website I shared with you, so easy access to it. Basically, we transport our student athletes to and from games in school vehicles. Sometimes exceptions might need to be made where parents are going to take them home for the weekend after a Friday night game kind of thing. This transportation form needs to be filled out, handed to the coach, or handed to the bus driver, usually going to be Carla or me. We have those forms with us, but it is so much easier when, with all the commotion of the event and then getting kids on the road at the end and so forth, so much easier if you can print that off and fill that out ahead of time and bring it with you. So much faster when you just hand it to us. Otherwise, we're always going through our backpacks and getting these forms out and so forth. So that's an important one. Please stay on top of that. And then just a last little encouragement. I think this is found in our handbook. It's kind of like multi-activity participation. The same holds true with sports, multi-sport participation. Small school, great opportunity to be involved in a lot of things. Specializing too early. Everything I read about this says you don't need to really specialize until probably if you're able to compete at the collegiate level and beyond. So through high school, lots of different sports. They complement each other. They help our bodies not break down. They help prevent injuries. They help keep a fresh perspective on things and avoid burnout and so forth. So I encourage you to encourage multi-sport athletes. A really important thing when it comes to team sports is how does playing time and roles come into play? I probably don't have time to read every word on the slide here, but I just want you to know we put a lot of thought into how this transpires on our teams. The second bullet point, it's important to realize what all goes into coaches determining playing time and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, as much as effort and attitude are very, very, very important things at the high school level, especially when we get to the varsity level, talent and skill is a very important thing too. What is someone able to do on the field, on the court, to help the team perform its best? So sometimes we talk about it as the minors and the majors. The minors would be like your C level and your JV level. We're very focused on developing and hopefully seeing progress. And at those levels, playing time can be expected. Not necessarily equal across all the student athletes, but expected in every competition. When we get to the varsity level, then, a little bit more focus on achieving victory, and playing time is not assumed. So coaches try to be very forthright with players, helping them understand their roles and so forth, so that it's not a surprise if a varsity basketball player doesn't get in a certain game. We're hopefully on the same page about why that is and what we're trying to do, but that's kind of how we look at playing time. At GPL, there are student athletes that we sometimes call tweeners. They have the opportunity to participate on multiple levels. So there might be a JV player who's also on the varsity roster, but they're going to get most of their court time in the JV game, and then they're rounding out the varsity roster. They help add depth. They're very helpful in practice and so forth. But the lower level is usually where they're going to get the majority of their playing time. The upper level might just be a little bit more along for the ride when it comes to the games. And just please know, like I said, lots of thought goes into this. I'm certainly not up here saying that you should never have a question about this and it might never lead to a conversation with a coach. That very well might be the case, but please know that our coaches are working very hard to do playing time well with the focus of the team in mind and each individual student athlete's development. And again, this is maybe one where I need to cruise a little bit more quickly. It's high school sports, and we're trying to help kids realize that in life, just about anything that we're working toward and raising the level, pursuing success in anything, it's work. So this is a great opportunity for our students to learn, continue to learn, to reinforce. It takes work to pursue the goals, achieve the goals that I want to pursue and achieve. Tom Brady was recently inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. He's not yet in the NFL Hall of Fame. That'll be coming soon. But anyway, in his induction speech, a really nice line that I'm going to share with you. To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most players or most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. I'm going to share this with you, and this one I might read every word on the screen. There's a guy out there named Greg Berg. He writes a lot of stuff. He has amazing resources. He is a principal and a boys' high school basketball coach in Lake City, Minnesota. I'm a Greg Berg junkie. He's got a podcast. He's got a weekly email newsletter. And he puts out these lists, like 7 of these and 10 of these and 5 of these. Here's 5 for parents. And I myself am a sports parent, and I know over the years have been far from everything I could and should be as a sports parent. It's hard to be a sports parent. These 5 things I think are really worth considering. Number 1, it's your child's experience, not yours. It's really easy to live vicariously through our children, and then we start to take it personally because whatever's happening to them, we then start to put on ourselves. It's their experience, not ours. Must remember that this athletic journey is your child's, not yours. Allow them to own their successes and failures. Support them without dictating their path. Number 2, team focus. As much as you're at the game watching your child and wanting to see your child have a good experience and be successful, keeping focus on the team. I basically already said that one. It's pretty straightforward. Number 3, I'm going to touch on in a little bit more detail in a second, but embracing the struggle. This is one of those really cool ways where sports is lessons learned for life. Accept the struggle of team sports. Embrace the highs and lows. Help your child understand the value of perseverance and resilience. Struggles are part of growth and character development. Like I said, more to come. Navigate, don't plow. Be there for support. Don't clear all the obstacles. Allow them to navigate challenges and learn resilience. Being a snowplow parent denies them the chance to grow. And then find joy in the journey. Find happiness in the entire sports experience. Celebrate the small victories and lessons learned. The journey's highs and lows are equally valuable. Teach your child to cherish every moment, win or lose. I'm going to level with you and be really personal with you. My junior son, late bloomer, didn't see the field in Friday night's varsity football game. The team won. It was a wonderful game. Lots of great things happened. Lots of players played very well. In that situation, I can't be going home with him and just being nothing but disappointed that he didn't see the field. It's okay. On some level, we can get joy out of this, even if tonight it wasn't what I did on the field. There's other ways that whether it's scoring 10 touchdowns or it's being a great teammate, giving high fives to everybody who comes off, and everything in between, there's joy to be found somewhere. As parents, let's try to help our kids find that joy. So along the lines of the struggle, I'm not going to read all these words, but just kind of skim and scan. There's so many things about sports that make us smile. There's so many things about sports that make it hard to smile. Here's a few of them. And again, this is where such a wonderful teaching tool. How do we deal with this stuff? Greg Berg again, he calls sports the ultimate lab setting for life. There's just a lot of good stuff that we can learn through these experiences that are hopefully helping prepare us for beyond. And given that sports can be a struggle in so many different ways, mentally, physically, and so forth, I want you to know as parents, we're constantly looking for ways to continue to support our kids beyond just the X's and O's and so forth. So some of that falls into the realm of mental health, mental wellness, and there are some things very specific about being a student athlete that come into play. So Christian Family Solutions, Pastor Shalin mentioned them. That's a resource that we're looking, they've got some tools that we're looking to use, and I just want you to know that we're searching for things in the realm of mental wellness, performance psychology, and so forth to support our student athletes in those ways as well. And I'm at time, so I will find ways to give you some information about our trainer and head injuries. We take athleticism training very seriously in the weight room. I'll get some information into your hands about that. I do want you to know that as time goes on, we're continuing to look for ways to support families that might be looking to compete at the next level, identifying students who may be capable. The blessings of interscholastic sports can continue beyond high school. It might have a significant impact in our ability to pay for education beyond high school. So some cool stuff there. I just want you to know that we're here to support you in that because it's an interesting road to navigate. Supporting them in nutrition and how we train and sleep and the word are all important things. I'm getting really close to the end here. It takes a small army to pull off our roughly 25 home athletic contests every year. There's game personnel who are needed. I realize that can be intimidating. It takes training, doing the scorebook, doing the scoreboard, and so forth. But I promise you, when you get that training and you start to develop some experience, you get the hang of it, can be a lot of fun. There's always going to be asking for help in the concession stand. And then sometimes it's unique ways that we can support the teams that our students are participating on. In the realm of football is looking for fruit snacks to give kids at halftime, or bug spray while it's still mosquito season, or hosting team dinners, or providing transportation to team outings. Lots of different ways that we can support. So please consider ways that you can support, and as you have opportunity and as you're willing and able, please answer the call. It's very rewarding to be a part of the team that helps make this possible for our students. So with that all said, the same thank yous that Pastor Mertz probably said earlier, valuing Christian education, letting us be your partner, supporting your children in the development of their talents and abilities, the sacrifices that it takes to make this possible, and for all the ways that you support and help. Just a couple quick reminders. Tomorrow, first day of school, right after school, we have fall sports pictures. That will include cross country, volleyball, and football. Cheer is going to happen a week and a half later on September 4th. So if you're ordering pictures, fill out that starography envelope and send it to school with your child. Just a reminder that parents' nights are coming up early. Volleyball on Thursday, September 5th versus Tri-State, and then football, cross country, and football cheer versus Hamlin on Friday, September 13th. We do those early so that hopefully it's also a way to help introduce parents and become a little bit more familiar with each other. Ultimately, honoring parents for what they do to support their student athletes. Not going to take questions right now, but if you have any, I'm always here for you, and let's make it a great year of GPL activities. So, I'm sorry I went a couple minutes over, but thank you for your time, and I don't see, is Mr. Bender here? Does he want to say anything else at the end? Okay, thank you for your time this afternoon. Actually, hang on. You get to cheer. I say we are. Everybody says Panthers. Ready? We are. Panthers. Have a great school year.